Okay, gentlemen. So, like I said, you go to Facebook and go and share the post. What is good, everybody? It is your guy Devin here. We're here with a late night stream. We're trying to keep it smooth and sensual. Not really. Today I am joined here with my buddy Andrew, my buddy Alec, and my guy Bobby, and we're gonna be talking about atheism. We're all atheists, as I understand. Correct? Everybody here is an atheist.
Pretty much something like that.
Something
I
like
mean,
that. He
like,
says something like that.
as atheistic as someone with a god complex can be, yes.
Right, right. Okay. All right. Well then, hey guys, this is the pop up. Stay tuned.
Like, be Facebook for a minute and stop be a loading screen. That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, by the way, we're back online, live on the
How
air.
much of a delay is this going to be
How much is
between
the
like our
delay?
chat?
Mine's
Between our chat and theirs, the delay is only gonna probably be about only several seconds. Well, I'd probably say 30 seconds for them. For us,
several.
everything's happening in real time. Chat, probably the same concept,
several.
probably 30 seconds.
All right, yeah, I'm
Okay.
using my phone for this.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That make everything go weird.
Just waiting for some people to file in. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry. Okay. I hate the fact that I have my damn one key labeled to the transition shots. So whenever I transition, I press one and it just goes away, and it kind of ruins everything. Fab, did you share it, or are you on your phone right now?
I'm on my phone sharing it right now. So I have
Okay,
a
I
few
got
people
you.
that
Okay.
wanted to
Yeah,
chime
I
in.
just shared. I just shared it on mine. I'm just gonna use my phone because my computer's like, nah, fam, I can't handle this.
Yeah, your computer is not fam.
It's working just fine on EDH Rec, looking at magic cards, but like as soon as I go to Facebook, it just shat itself.
Well, it would be better if
Uh.
at least you just invested in a PC. You know what I'm saying? Like a good PC. All right. Well, so this is the bread and butter here. This is what I brought you guys in for. So today we're talking about atheism. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I've had a lot of shtick. I've had a lot of people coming at me. Not really coming at me, but I have my beliefs and they have theirs, and there's been a lot of debate, and I feel like maybe they don't understand my position. So I feel as if maybe it would be nice to have a conversation with other atheists to help draw attention to our positions. So what I want to do is I wanted everybody here to talk about why they are an atheist, right? So like tell us their story, and then from there we'll just kind of jump in and poke fun at each other and whatever shit goes on. Everybody in the chat, if they want to say something, they can. Let's keep it going. So we'll start with Andrew, my main man Andrew from down in Tennessee, because the only 10 I see. So why are you an atheist?
That's the question is the more like why I don't believe more than why I am an atheist. But I have to say, just like I saw through a lot of hip criticism and did a lot of research on my own, and there's a lot of gaps and a lot of holes and a lot of flaws in the belief systems.
Yeah, well, I that is pretty much how I came to my conclusion. My story. So I'll just go ahead and tell mine here. My story is about how what happened with me was I was going to church. I was like a youth leader almost. That's what I would call myself, and was doing speeches, and I was talking with people, and I was praising the word of God and everything else. And I was going to church with a family from my small town. They were very religious people. And one day, and I was going to church with them, and then one day they had this crazy, crazy sermon, right? Where like this dude come in, he was from like South America or Mexico, I believe. I forget his name. I think his name was Caesar. He come in, and like they had this just insane church session where everybody was freaking crying because of the loss and love of Jesus, and like everybody was like, and I had no emotional connection. I was like, well, what's going on? Like, how are these people acting like this, right? So I get in the car with them, we're driving home, and, and they're like, so did you feel it? And I just told them, yeah, I felt it, like, because I didn't, I'm bullshitting, I'm like, yeah, I felt it. And so I say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start reading the Bible. Like really reading it. I'm going to start it from front to cover because, I would pick verses out here and there like, most Christian people are sometimes. And I would say, okay, well, I'm going to pick out verses. But no, I said I'm going to start reading the Bible from front to back. Well, I got to Genesis. I'd probably say by the end of Genesis, it was a wrap. I was done. I was an atheist by the end of Genesis. It was crazy because you realize how inept it is, right? And you have to take it as truth. And and I couldn't believe it just on faith because I had so many questions. Then you think about the idea of, because I already knew what the story of Revelation was, right? The end story, where the lake of fire, everybody burns, for non-belief. And then you see the idea of original sin, and you realize how stupid, not just stupid, but how awful it is. And then after that, what I learned is that half of it, for one, didn't even make any sense. Right? I mean, God creates people knowing that they're going to fail. He creates a tree that is the tree of good and evil, knowing that they're going to eat from that tree. And he's like, well, I got to give them free will. I mean, he created everything before, and he knew what was going to happen. What was going to happen before he even created it. So what's the point? It's like watching a show that you already seen like 1,000 times. Or a movie, but the thing is like you've seen it literally 1,000,000 times, and there's nothing surprising about it, not even the first time, because you know every single detail of the movie.
It's like getting the ending spoiled and then watching it anyway.
It's like when I watched Jurassic World, right? When I first time watched Jurassic World, whenever I saw it for the first 2 seconds, I said the mosasaur is going to come up and kill the Indominus Rex, and everybody's like, shut up. No sooner that was the ending of the movie, and I said, I knew it. And it didn't, and that's what I said. Because I knew it, it had no appeal to me. But yeah, so he creates all of these dumb, foolish things, and then he says, well, I need Satan, and he's supposed to be this omnipresent, omniscient, omnibenevolent God, or malevolent God, and you're sitting there thinking, so he's everywhere, but yet. And he's all-knowing, but yet in later verses in Genesis, you hear him regret his creation. That's why he flooded the world to kill people, because he regretted what he created. So how can you regret something if you knew what was going to happen? These are the things that keep me up at night, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I no sooner than that came to be in fruition, and then I went and studied the scholarship of the Bible, how the Bible was constructed. I looked at all the historical sources, if there was even proof that a Jesus ever existed, and I'm proud to say that I'm a Jesus mythicist. I don't believe Jesus was even real, or there was several Jesusi that were all con men and faith healers roaming around the Middle East. And
I knew a guy named Jesus. Jesus is real.
Did you? Was he down at Home Depot?
No. He was just a little Mexican kid I knew in Florida.
Oh, word.
I think his dad picked oranges.
Hey, that's
yeah. I actually I know a Jesus too. He mows my lawn.
These are really racist jokes, by the way. We should stay away from racism. Alec, what's your story?
Yep.
Why don't you believe in the God of the Bible or God in general?
For me, I want to say it. Every time I ever went to church, I never really felt like anything. For me, I always felt weird, and then I started like reading up on like other religions and stuff, and it kind of like took a toll on me to where like a lot of things that like Christians do, and I'm not like picking on for doing this, is it feels like a culty kind of like basis.
It is,
like especially stuff in like sermons where like whenever. Like they all say something at the same time. It's very culty to me, but for me, like it's
Amen.
On a scientific aspect. There's a lot of things in the Bible that contradict a lot of other things that it.
Nature.
Whenever the Bible was
Now,
first
when you say
being
things, it contradicts a lot of other things. Do you mean in reality, like things in reality, or it contradicts a lot of things that you would just be like, well, if a God's supposed to be all good, he does these things and they're pretty fucked up. Is that what you're saying? I mean, it's probably both, but is that what you mean by things in particular?
No, I mean that there are some stuff in the Bible that is written, and then in different chapters, it is kind of brought up, but at a different aspect to contradict itself.
Oh, contradiction within the text.
Contradicting things in the Bible, and at the same time, for me, I believe if you believe in a God, you have to believe everything in the Bible. Okay, and there's like it. I have read that 27 times it says in there to not eat shrimp, because shrimp is also a dirty animal, and it also says to not even eat pork. The only people that actually stay true to that is Muslims, and
right. But you got to understand that Jesus, when Jesus came, he fulfilled the law. So that was is that Levitical? I can't remember but we're still on Mosaic, but we're still under the Ten Commandments apparently. But Jesus didn't fulfill those. He came to uphold those laws. But the other ones were like you don't have to eat shrimp and you can't wear mixed fabrics. Yeah, those ones, they got rid of those.
Those were more like laws around nature, though. And,
is it a retcon?
That's the Old Testament. What are you talking about? It doesn't matter. It's still fucking written. I think that's the biggest thing that irritates me is that like a lot of things that people question, people would just say, well, that's in the Old Testament. It's still a fucking testament. It's still something that people used to like talk about. You can't just throw it out the door just because it's an Old Testament. You can't just be like, well, we want more people to believe in God. What can we do to change that? Well, let's throw out the Old Testament because that's some messed up shit.
No, that's the old God. That's the old God.
Right.
The old gods have to die for the new gods to rise.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you guys are all just like, so far all I've been hearing is about the Bible and Christianity in general, but what do you feel about any other religions? You know,
I mean,
do you guys?
I mean the same thing for the Quran, because the Quran is basically a derivative of the biblical God. You can read it. I mean, it has every same flavor and text of it. I mean, everything about it is almost copy cutter and paste about the Quran. There's a couple of improved things. They've improved, quote unquote, improved on some things, but then in practice,
they translated a few things.
But in practice, so the thing is the people who believe in the Quran are more, they've held so tightly and strictly to their religion that they practice it so much more strongly, because I mean, especially with homosexuals, killing homosexuals, just splaying them out on the street, hanging them, women, cauterizing up their gooches and all kind. No. It's not a good religion. And if we're talking about all other religions, the thing is, to me, at the end of the day, I do pick on the Bible, but the truth is, whenever you go look for the evidence, the demonstrable evidence, I ask you to prove a God to me, no one has been able to provide that evidence, and I've looked. The physical evidence that one would exist, there's nothing in the world, the natural world that exists around us that necessitates a God. It's Occam's razor, we don't need to I want to make the best conclusion of my understanding with the least amount of assumptions as possible.
Yeah.
Bobby.
A lot of people too nowadays are like, a lot of people, just because of like suicide bombers and like in the Muslim community, they all say that like everything about Muslims are bad, even though the good Muslims outweigh the bad Muslims. But people also forget that like Christianity is only the biggest religion just because of the Crusades itself. People always like try to forget that back then, if you didn't believe in God, they killed you.
Oh yeah, and you're not gonna paint yourself as the bad guy trying to show off a history book, It's like American history.
Half of the
we don't talk about a lot of things.
What's
that,
Bobby?
A lot of younger generations aren't even taught that either.
No, they'll make movies about it and stuff, but not really kind of paint
Yeah,
the
I mean,
big picture.
it's entertainment, not as actually like a history lesson.
I
or
learned
anything.
this story from
Yeah.
Powerwolf.
Well, I was gonna say is they kind of glaze over. I remember reading some of my history books. They kind of just glaze over it, like, oh yeah, and the this religious organization, they went on a couple crusades to these, and it is so glossed over. You don't really understand the full impact of it. They would go and kill the Moors and all these other Muslim religions and take all of their stuff, all of their knowledge, just because they could. I mean, they learned so much actually from the Moor people and the Muslim people that they, went down and killed and then took their stuff.
And wipe them out.
Yeah.
Wipe them out, kind of like how we did with American history.
Yeah.
Learn how to grow corn and say thank you.
So go forward to say thank you. I mean, my reason why I think it's so big is not just because of the Crusades. I mean, it can be a contributing factor, sure, but the reason why is because it is the soft sell. It just says, hey, all you have to do is believe in Jesus, right? And then you're home free. You just got to believe in him and pursue him with all your heart, and you'll make it to heaven. Yeah, so it's so easy.
Yeah,
for a lot
it
of
is
people,
the easiest religion to follow.
because the thing is that there are so many people that'll say that they're Christian, but there's so many denominations of Christian. To say that you're a Christian, it could mean like one of 10,000 things, literally 10,000 things.
Yeah.
What are you? Are you a Catholic?
there
Are
used
you a
to be-
Protestant? Are you a what would it be like the Mormons? The Mormons. Are you one of those people? I mean, what are you? Right? Because each one of those denominations of Christianity have their own backing, their own dogmas, their own specific thing that they focus on.
Non-denominational,
What's that?
but not non-denominational, man.
Yeah, right. The non-denominational, right?
That's
Which
the-
I,
There used to even be a form of Catholicism that the only thing you had to do was wear a cloth around your neck. You could do anything you wanted as a type of sin, but be forgiven if you actually wore that cloth around your neck.
oh,
too.
right.
That's another kind of soft
Catholic
sell
churches.
that like they've even tried to do. And
Catholic
I don't even understand it either. Or I used to not understand why people somehow, some way had to believe in something. I don't understand why you even have to. A lot of people will even like verbally attack you about it if you don't believe in something. There's been multiple times where I've even said that like I'm an atheist, and somebody has like verbally assaulted me because of that. I didn't say it to him in a rude manner. I didn't try to say like, oh hey, like your God isn't real, I'm an atheist, blah blah blah. I would just say like I'm an atheist,
No,
and they would just go off and just say that like I'm going to hell, blah blah blah. I'm a worthless like piece of shit just because of that. And that's one thing that irritates me a lot, and that actually makes me even be proud more of being an atheist, just because I don't
that makes
believe
me
in
not
something.
want to associate with people like that. Like that makes me pushes someone like you and me, or any of us really, that are just don't really care for it or have no use for religion.
Just pushes you
Like-
farther away.
Yeah, like now I really don't want to be. I don't even want to associate with you. I don't want to be anywhere near you.
Exactly. And that's one thing that like I cannot stand, is that people just like they can't fathom it, so they have to like verbally attack you over it. But if you do that to them, it's like a whole nother like standpoint. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty
well-
much like being a Satanist saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be putting up a statue of Satan in Times Square, just so you know."
Yeah, my thing is and I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to give the mic to Bobby, because Bobby's been here, and I would like for him to tell us why he's an atheist. But before I do that, my problem with those kind of people, and I want to be fair to the people that I've been talking to, the Christians I've been talking to recently, they are listening to me, but, they have their faith goggles on, they have their God glasses on, so to speak. So, like, no, nothing I say to them is going to really register, you know what I mean? Like, all they're worried about is saving my eternal soul or whatever, because that's what Jesus said. That's how I feel anyway. I mean, but when you're saying about those people that act that way, you're right. It makes me be like, why should I even talk to you, right? Why should I even say anything? But the thing is I always, no matter what, I will, if someone brings up the religious belief and I will tell them what I believe, and why I believe it. And if they're mad about that and they get offended, like you said, they get offended. They act like, well, you can't have that belief. You can't believe in nothing. How do you even walk around believing in nothing? Not, which I don't believe in nothing. You know what I mean? But, you know, like, how do you not believe that there's something bigger than yourself out there, right? And I will say, well, there could very well could be something bigger than myself, right? And then they will say, so you're agnostic. And then you say, no. Because the thing is you don't walk around saying that you're an aleprechaunist, right? Correct? You don't walk around saying that, hey, I don't believe in. Okay, so right now, for the example, okay, I'm going to tell you that there's a giant rainbow farting pixie that lives in the galaxy where, the solar system of Alpha Centauri, right? Now, I claim that, right? But now you have to figure out if that's real or not. Is it on me to prove that that thing exists? Because until there's evidence that that thing exists, right? There's evidence to actually think that that's actually real, then it's not real. We don't say that thing exists until we have evidence that it does. I mean, there's something out there that we don't know exists yet, right? There's some kind of moon or planet that we haven't looked at yet, right? But we can't say, well, that planet exists out there because we haven't seen it yet. You know, so my position is that, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say there's no God exists until someone presents me evidence that a God exists. And I can tell you that your God doesn't exist, because if you have a theistic claim and you claim these things about him are the facts of reality, I believe in the flying spaghetti monster. Praise his noodly appendage. Praise be his noodly appendage. Amen, Amber. Amen. But yeah, as I was saying was, oh shit, I lost my train of thought. God damn you, Amber. God damn you. But yeah, like I said, you don't make that claim. You have to respect that claim, and you have to say, well, you know what? I don't know, but your basis is wrong, because I can look at your biblical, like say the Bible. I can look back, and you say the flood happened. I can show you that there's no geographical evidence that the Noah's flood ever happened. And I can disprove all these different claims about your book. You said this guy Jesus was alive and he was resurrected. Based on everything we know and all the evidence that we have that's contrary to the belief, there's no evidence that Jesus was even a person and rose from the dead. There's none. Besides the Bible. There's no evidence. So I can disprove your claim. Now, Bobby, why don't you believe in a God? Any God.
Okay, so before I get to the details, just a quick disclosure here, because this is something that I'm going to be very harsh about.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe in God, that is absolutely fine. I think it is absolutely okay to have said belief. However, I don't think that it's a necessity. The reason in which I don't believe in God is a very simple one. There's no logic behind it. The book in and of itself is full of hypocrisy. It contradicts itself every other verse. And to top that off, the main reasons as to why so-called Christians, quote-unquote Christians, who don't follow their beliefs in the first place, quote-unquote believe in God in the first place, is because, A, they grew up to be taught and to love God. On top of that, humans have a natural fear of death. It's not necessarily their own death, but think about it this way. Right now, we're all human beings. We're having a nice little chit-chat here. Hell, we're streaming on Facebook. We're living it up. But tomorrow, one of us could die. One of us could get hit by a car, and what then?
Holy fuck, way to liven it up, Bobby. Way to fucking kill the mood. Jesus Christ. He's over here.
No, but
we're
listen,
over here talking, he goes, we could all die. And then I'm like, damn, Bobby.
I hear him completely, bro.
No, but here's the thing.
No, Bobby, I get what you're saying. Go ahead. I'm just fucking with you. Good.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, everybody here has somebody in their lives that they care about and somebody that they love. And if they lost that person, they'd be devastated. And people find comfort in thinking that there is something beyond and that they will someday see that person. And I like that idea. I would love to think that I can see, certain people beyond the grave again, but it's not going to happen. There's no logical reason for me to think that. And in all honesty, a lot of people says, well, isn't that kind of depressing? And I can honestly tell you it's not. it makes me cherish every moment that I have in reality with those people.
Yes, they share the same sentiments. It makes, because a lot of people will say that about people like us that are atheists, that we don't have anything that we love. We don't, you know what I mean? How can you, like, this whole thing's meaningless. This whole life's meaningless, right? You know, like, that's what I was told as I had a conversation with one of my very close Christian friends time and time again. He was like a brother to me, and he kept telling me, well, this whole life's meaningless, and then this whole life's meaningless. But it's not. Just because it's not forever doesn't mean it doesn't matter to me now. Just because I know it's not going to last, right? The meal that you guys ate today, right? The meal that you guys ate, Fat. What did you have, Andrew? What did you have for food today? What did you eat for food? I sound like a fucking alien. What did you have for food today?
I can tell you what I had because I'm such a fucking fat kid. I can tell you what I had a week ago. I love food.
I love food.
Sweet and sour chicken. That's what I just had.
Sweet and sour chicken, right? So that sweet and sour chicken, just because you ate it and then you're gonna have to eat again, does that mean that meal that you just had earlier was meaningless?
Did everybody have sweet and sour chicken today? Because I did too.
What the
hell yeah?
Wait! You had sweet and sour chicken? I had sweet and sour chicken. Bobby, did you have sweet and sour chicken today?
No, I had Olive Garden.
Oh God, Bobby, you're supposed to go along with it because I was gonna say it's a miracle because we all had sweet and sour chicken, and I was gonna say this is God's way of telling us that He's real.
Yeah.
Sorry to shit on that parade.
That's so messed up. It's funny though. Oh man.
Hey man, I mean, I'd be more inclined to believe the God of sweet and sour chicken exists than the Christian God. I can get on board with that shit.
Well, you know, here's the thing. I've investigated a lot of different religions.
Chicken.
And Zoroastrian God, he's pretty cool. He's pretty alright dude. I mean, I don't think he's real. There's no evidence for him, but I mean, he's pretty cool. You know, the Zoroastrian, which is actually what Christianity, one of the religions Christianity is based off of. The Zoroastrian God's dope as hell. He's like, just do good stuff, and you know, like there's an afterlife. There's no control. You know, we all eventually will go to heaven.
However, if I were to pick a religion set that I would follow, especially if it was a little bit more easier in today's society, but full on polytheological, you know, ancient Roman and Greek mythology.
So you would go with those gods like Neptune and
those gods. I think the biggest thing I like about those gods is that they didn't give a shit. Okay, like whenever they wrote stuff down, they were just like, yeah, let's fucking let's say this, and that's how it goes, man. Like, yeah, that's a fucked up story.
Each one of them stood for something, either whether it be a human construct that people didn't understand at the time, like the emotion that people didn't really grasp, or an aspect of nature. Like they all had a tangible attachment.
Yeah. Every god was symbolic of something different.
Right. Modern.
Who's your favorite god?
My favorite god, definitely Zeus.
Zeus.
100.
Well, I mean, let's be real here, because Zeus was a douchebag. Like he really is the encompassing factor of all fuckboys alive today, right? Think about it. He would turn into whatever. He would turn into whatever to get a piece of ass from a girl. He had like 30 freaking demigod kids. What else?
Dude, how many sisters can one man fuck?
How many demigods are you gonna make, man? If you could throw lightning bolts, all right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
mine was Poseidon. I actually just got a tattoo of Poseidon on my fucking forearm here.
Hell yeah!
Ooh, slick. I can't really see it, but I'm sure you'll show me sometime. Take a better picture. If I had to say my favorite god, I don't have one. I don't. I mean, I maybe the Jewish version, like Yahweh, because he was just the OG. Like he just because of how ridiculous he was like the most ridiculous monotheistic god I've seen, because he would just be like, I am the Lord, and then he would just like smite people and flood the earth and like, you know, like do all this crazy shit, like, you know. And then what we have in Christianity though, yeah, right, he would just smite a whole town. He's like, yeah, that town. I didn't even like that town anyway, because they all believe in they were all having sex with each other, and the guys were licking each other's buttholes or whatever.
Let me just yeet my wrath downward.
Let me eat my wrath.
All right, hey, I want to roll this back a little bit, if it's all right.
Roll
Yeah,
it
same.
back.
All right, roll it back. All right, so to leave off where to start back up where I left off. Another thing that I wanted to bring up as to why was morals. A lot of people use Christianity as a moral compass, and in all honesty, I can, in a sense, appreciate that people are trying to use that as a moral compass, but at the same time, how many people actually follow it? I mean, let's be honest, we all had the high school hoe.
Yeah, well, hold
Let's
on.
be honest.
Really
I want to say one thing.
pamphlet though in your back pocket?
Yes.
How to be good?
I want to say one thing.
Well, I mean, the
Two,
biggest-
anybody in the chat, go ahead, message us, talk to us. We will talk back to y'all. But what was I going to say to Bobby's thing was, but the thing is, and like I said, this is why I got to make sure that we don't straw man them here, because the like, at least when we're talking about Christianity, but other religions, I get it, that's why they had to create the loophole that was Jesus, because the God of the Old Testament, which he's all knowing, was like, oh shit, I made these rules and they can't follow any of them because they're people, and I made them fallible, and then I let this thing, the devil, exist on earth that taints people and tempts them. Oh God, I'm God, I'm all powerful, but yet I can't do anything to stop it because free will and yada. It's a big bullshit story, but I gotta be real. So that's what I'm saying is like, so yeah, Christians actually go, well, yeah, I can fuck up because I'm Christian. I will get those. Those things will be forgiven, and I can repent for those things. Actually, most criminals, by the way, this is a fun little statistic for y'all. There are like I'm pretty sure it's triple. I would have to look up the numbers again, but like most criminals are Christian in America. So.
Oh yeah, most of American serial killers are Christian.
And then we had Manson. Manson's like, I am God, what you mean?
Yeah, but I mean, Manson was batshit crazy. But yeah, go ahead, Bobby. Go continue with what you're saying about morals.
Yeah, so here's where I was going with it. So, not just in Christianity, but in general, people use it as a moral compass. But in all honesty, I feel as though if you need a belief system to have a moral backbone, then what's the point in the first place? Like, if you absolutely need this thing to be real, like, let's say definitive proof that no God ever existed came out, and all of these religious nuts would just drop down and immediately start going on mass killing sprees. Let's just use that as an example.
Right.
If that were the case, anybody who absolutely needs a religion as a moral background, you're a cunt.
For your justification for killing people?
No, no, not at all. What I'm saying is, if you need God to exist in order to have morality, you shouldn't have your God at all.
You should have morality.
That.
Because the thing is, whenever you have something that claims to be absolute truth, it devoids any chance that you can be wrong, and I think that's how morality evolves, and how everything really moves forward, is that you have to be able to admit that you're wrong. And I think when you have a dogma like that, and you have a God that you say can't be wrong, well then you never can be wrong. Thus, then atrocities can happen.
That's a very
Andrew,
fair
you had
point.
something you wanted to say.
What?
You had something you wanted to say.
I'm good. I zoned out already. I already forgot what it was.
Yeah, you did. I saw your face just staring off into the distance like, the fuck is that over there?
It was
Adventure Time is still.
It's a
Right.
very nice wall.
Thank you. You like my wall? It's a beautiful wall.
Yeah, you like that? You like that? He painted that himself.
I mean, I'll tell you what, I like that wall a lot more than I liked that Adventure Time I was hearing earlier.
Yeah,
Shit was loud as fuck.
that Ice King man.
But anyway, so yeah, the basic idea is you should be able to have morals and to understand Not necessarily what's right and wrong, because I don't believe in a construct of right and wrong in the first place. I think that that's all an idealism that we come up with and derive ourselves, because each person's definition of right and wrong is going to be different. I think that if we are to define right and wrong and to define morals, then to simply put it as such, that would be, does this negatively impact another living being or thing?
Right. Well, what you're saying is that morality is subjective, which, yes, I agree that morality is subjective. Now, what the difference is the moral compass, what is guiding that, which it can vary from person to person. But for me, and I think for everybody, it's well-being. It's for Andrew's well-being. Like we're all selfish by nature in some way, shape, or form. But
well, yeah, that's how you survive.
Yeah, right. But I was saying, yeah, of course, yeah, that's how you survive. But the thing is we're a social species, and we realize that if we want to stay alive and we want to coexist and we want to work in space, it's not just my well-being. It has to be, I have to worry about Andrew's well-being, because if I am a total dick to Andrew and I keep stealing his shit all the time, you know, I mean, then Andrew's going to want to come over and take the 12-gauge shotgun to the back of my head. And then, you know, if... right, me and you are gonna say, well, it doesn't really matter. It's not worth killing someone over. But I mean, I'm talking like we're talking about biblical times, right? Back in those days, you know, people would be like stealing each other's shit. There was no forensics. You know, if someone stole your shit, that you weren't gonna know who fucking stole your shit. What are you gonna do? Follow the tracks, hunt them down yourself? That's the only way you could really do it.
Not only that, also in the time period and area that the Bible and Quran and stuff are based around. Right, just say that it is real, but it's historical. There's no fucking magical god or any bullshit like that. It's just a historical document. In that time period and area, if someone steals a fish or a pig or a goat, your family's fucked for the next week to a month. You know, they just killed your kid by taking your food.
Yeah, exactly.
I did not think that's the term we were going to take with that, but...
Well, no, but it brings up a good point about
Little Timmy's dead now, boys.
Little Timmy.
Little Timmy starved to death. And he had a wicked cough in the first place. I didn't think it was going to make it too much longer to begin with, but came a week early.
Oh man, praying didn't help.
Praying didn't help. Yeah. Oh my God. Don't get us started. Don't. Oh my God. Don't get me started. Don't get us started. We'll hop down that rabbit hole. We'll hop down the rabbit hole. But I do want to talk about this, Bobby, because this is a really good point. The moral system, when we're talking about morality, right? It is subjective, but we always start with well-being. I worry about everyone else's well-being, and from there, then we can make assessments by using empathy and, you know, understanding that other people. Because I actually did a thing about this, right? So we have to start with the presupposition that you exist, right? Because we're not presupposing a god or anything, because there's no fucking evidence for that. But I presuppose that I exist because I exist. Because I can only assume that I exist because I can touch things and see things all around me, and then I have to, by extension, assume all of you guys exist because for some reason I interact with you, but I have no control over you. And there's all these things in the world, in this reality that I exist in, but you guys have your own needs and necessities and everything. And then once I realize we all take up space and that we all have to coexist, then, of course, then I think about well-being. Because if I'm doing okay and you're doing okay, then, you know, you're not coming over to beat the shit out of me and take all my shit or kill me and eat my organs because you're starving or whatever. We could have a society. You know, we're not animals any longer. So when we start thinking about this emergent property of morality, then we say, okay, now that we have this common goal of well-being, we start to say, well, let's talk about topics like slavery, right? We can say owning slaves is wrong. Well, why can we say that's wrong? Because these are also people. They're just like us. They have the same needs. They act the same way we do. And if we enslave them, they're people like us, and they're, you know, I mean, we're taking away their will, or we're taking away the things that make them happy.
Exactly. But to draw back on that, the real point in relation to religion is, simply put, you shouldn't need to have a religion in order to have morals.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like it's Earlier, it was mentioned that fucking lost my train of thought. Earlier, it was mentioned that everything would be meaningless if you didn't have the religion, and that's how they see it. But in my eyes, I find it to be quite meaningless whenever you spend your whole life hunting down and searching for the truth of a religion. Um,
That has
why,
absolutely no proof or backbone.
right, right. So why am I going to spend all of my time trying to appease an entity that doesn't exist or has no proof of existence? And that's going to waste my time. My life's going to be over before I know it. And what did I do? Read one book? I read one fucking book multiple times.
Yeah,
And,
one that wasn't even well written either.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
horrible.
and this is what I'll say too is, I mean, again, I don't want to strawman Christians because, I mean, they do other things. They're not just all about their book and religion. There's people out there that are Christians and yada yada, and they believe. But I believe that, no, but you're definitely right. I mean, worshiping this one thing that you can't even prove exists, and like, taking the teachings of dogma of one book for the rest of your life just because someone told you it was true, which usually most people that are Christians were indoctrinated. They grew up because they were told from they came out of the womb that there was a God.
That's how racism is. That racism is a taught trait. Racism is no different than being religious.
Oh,
You're taught to love.
somebody's going to say something about that in the comments.
Slavery is in the Bible too.
Yeah, slavery is in the Bible, but I will say this though. Fap's point that he's making is that
If you live in a cave, nobody tells you about any religion, you're not going to have any thought about any religion. If you live in a cave and nobody mentions anything about racism and treats everybody equally, it's a non-factor.
Yeah, right. But it's not just that. What I was saying was that if you have a dogmatic belief, right? If you just believe that like you don't do any research, you don't look into anything, you just say black people aren't people, or they're lesser than me, right? That's like the first thing that comes in your head. Or they're lazy sons of bitches. They don't want to work or whatever because of some misconception because you don't maybe talk to black people is the same thing as being religious because you say there is a God. There's no need to investigate to see if there really is one. What the evidence is for it. I don't need to. There's a God. This book tells me there is. Same concept.
Yeah, I mean, you could if you have kids, you could fuck them up for life doing shit like that. Teach them the wrong fucking words. Tell them that their dresser is really a chair.
Yeah, and the thing is eventually they'll start thinking their fucking dresser's a chair and their chair's a dresser.
Yeah. And then one day they'll get married and tell their old lady to put their fucking clothes in the chair.
Hey, baby, when you're done folding clothes, put them in the chair for me, would you?
Can you imagine how fucked up it would be if, as a parent, you taught your kid that things were of a different color?
Yeah.
And they just started calling green yellow for years.
That's how I feel exactly about teaching kids religion. I feel like that's something that everybody should find on their own. Because
I 100% agree. If you don't believe in it now and you decide somewhere down the line that, hey, you know what? This makes sense to me. This makes me happy. Fuck, if it makes you happy, go for it. That's A-okay. If you need it, go for it. I don't think you should. I think that if you do need it, it's a little pathetic. But if you do need it, good for you.
Find out something that makes them want to be there, I want to know about it.
Yeah, hey, I want to take this to Alec here real quick. So I know you have a family member. Are they still banging the Bible? Alec?
Tyler?
Well, you didn't have to say their name, Alec. God, goodness gracious, to call them out.
I mean, yeah, I've even had comments from my own family before on that I don't have any morals because I don't believe in the Bible, and that kind of fucking hits you hard sometimes, and sometimes you gotta blow stuff off, sometimes you can't, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
No, I blow that shit right off. Oh, you don't have any morals because you're an atheist. Well, at least I'm not a retard, Stephanie.
Fucking savagery.
I can't say that to him, but I just I cut ties. I don't talk to them
Yeah,
anymore.
well, that's the problem though. I've really learned that too because I mean we joke around and say people are retards and stuff, but like whenever you start calling them retards, then they're not gonna listen to what you have to say.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
really have to
It's just
stop saying against
stupidity.
that. And truthfully, whenever I talk about religion to people, and this is something I don't know how you guys talk to like religious people about it. I always attack the idea. It doesn't matter what like you as a person, you're probably a great person. And the people that I do constantly talk to, they're great people usually. I mean, unless I get the one person who's going to call me out and say something, whatever. But most
Yeah.
people that I talk to, they're good people, and they just, I mean, and they believe this thing, and they just want to tell you about it because they love you so much, or because their book tells you that they need to love you and treat every person, the way they do. And what I mean, whenever I tell them that their book is it's a fairy tale. It's literally a fairy tale. It's a fable, right? And they get mad at you, and that all you can say to them is, I'm not. It has nothing to do with you. I am simply disagreeing with the idea. If you want to take it personally, you can put that fucking pair of Nikes on and wear them bitches down the court. But that's not what I'm not coming at you. I'm coming at the idea that you believe.
I wish it was more like that around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So,
to
Down in the
bring
deep south. Down
yeah,
in the deep south, Tennessee.
they're not quite as nice. Very rarely do I run into one that's run into a religious person that's willing to just sit down and be like, "Hey, man, this is why I believe this. This is what I believe," and be open-minded about my rebuttals and me going into scientific and historical evidence as to why you shouldn't believe.
Yeah.
It's not
Or
necessarily
or
why I do, but
or believe until there's sufficient evidence to believe.
right.
You know.
And that's the biggest flaw in Christianity or in any religion, really.
All
Where
religions.
there's nothing to
well,
support it.
well, no, the backbone, the key
It's
piece
faith.
to religion is faith. Faith means to blindly follow, which means to prove God does exist dissolves the religion because you no longer need faith. It's a fact.
Fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you believe. Well, that's another thing too that I'm writing a rebuttal to. One of my Christian friends have written to rebuttal is that there's two different things we see because there is faith based on evidence, and then there's faith, like there's just faith, like there's belief based on evidence, and then there's belief based on faith, right? Because my beliefs come from a belief based on evidence. Everything in the natural world, there's a naturalistic explanation. I mean, I've just seen it a million times. Like, there's nothing in this world that's paranormal, like ghosts, all that. It's all fucking bullshit, you know. But yeah, like you know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, I remember watching Ghost Hunters. You guys remember watching Ghost Hunters and shit on Sci-Fi, and you were all like, oh, "Look, they found ghosts." And then like whenever you watch the show again when you're older, you're like, "Oh my fucking god, I was really wooed by the lamp moving slightly off to the right." Are you fucking
Look, they
kidding?
found fishing line.
I don't know why, but like all I think of right now is that meme where it's just like, "Hey there, demons! It's me, ya boy."
Hey there, demons. It's your boy.
My name is Jeff.
My name is Jip. No, but it is so true though. I mean, like it's those things when you see them, you're like, oh, the superstitious. So when we talk about how we believe things, and I think that's something we can all agree on. We all believe things based on facts and evidence. I say, okay, show me why you think it's this, right? Because if you go to the garage and the guy says, oh yeah, it's your headlight's not on, and the guy says, oh, it's your carburetor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're gonna say, okay, show me why it's my carburetor that's making my headlights not work. And then it's up to that dude to show you because he made the claim that your fucking carburetor is what's causing your headlights not to work.
Yeah.
Trying to
Have
think.
you guys ever gotten like? Have you ever said to somebody like, "Why you're an atheist?" and they will like, they'll try to tell you on why you don't believe. I don't know why that that's literally the biggest thing that makes my fucking blood boil. Is I've talked to people before on like why like subtly because I'm never trying to start a fight with anybody if I talk about this, and I will say to them subtly why I don't believe. I won't throw out the big stuff because I don't want to piss them off. But I've had people like say to me, "Well, I think that you don't believe it's just because you hate God." And I don't know why. As soon as someone says that, I become like animalistic because how in the holy fuck can you believe it? Can you hate something that you don't believe in? Like that makes I can't even fucking fathom that. How fucking stupid that is. And people will say it, and I'll say, "What? Like, say that again." Listen to yourself when you say that, and they'll think it's just like normal. Like, oh yeah, you don't believe because you hate them. I can't hate somebody that I don't believe in. I can't hate somebody that isn't fucking real.
Well,
I don't believe in it because of these reasons. They'll be like, you hate God. And I'm just like, you are fucking.
My favorite thing's always been whenever I tell them I don't believe in God or anything like that, it's, well, you're going to hell. I don't believe in that either. So,
well, man, even if I do, I'm gonna have a fucking party.
That's good.
Like, fuck.
No, Alec makes a great point. Whenever people say that to me, that shit drives me nuts. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I do hate God. I mean, not as like a person that I believe in, but the same way that you hate the fucking dude in like the movie, like the scary movie who kills everybody like a bitch, like in a survival movie. Did anybody see Bird Box? Did anybody watch that? The Bird Box movie?
Okay, I didn't watch that, so like, if people cannot spoil it, that'd
the
be
last
great.
half? Oh, okay. Well, there's just this one scene where like the guy basically starts going around and killing everyone in this house, and he was the guy that they told not to let in, and they let him in because he's batshit fucking crazy, right? And like you see him kill people, and then you're like, oh, why did sorry, Bobby. But you're going, oh, like, why did you let him in? And, like, you know, you hate that guy because, you know, you knew he was bad news and he comes in and kills these people. And it's that same concept. I hate him because he's morally repugnant. He is, you know, like, and not to say that I hate every part of him because, you know, like, if we're talking about Jesus, there are morally redeemable things. He does do good things. And I'm a person who sees the good in all people. I will, you know, like, I mean, I hate rapists. I hate them with every part of my being, but, you know, like, at the same time I go, well, they were a person. They're still a person. They're just a fucked up person who's completely wrong, and, you know, whatever, you know, like, whatever led them down this path to do what they did, they're, you know, I mean, it's wrong and it's fucked up, but I understand at the end of the day they're still a human being.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I can see the good and bad in people, and to say that I hate them, yeah, I hate them. But and that's a problem whenever I get in discussions with Christians. Is I always go for talking with them like their book is fucking real. Whenever I really should just start with, whenever they say something about the Bible, I should just say, why should we believe the Bible? Why should I take anything about your Bible to be true? I usually do moral arguments, but I really need to stay away from those. Honestly, because what happens is that'll immediately get you straw manned, and Christians or Muslims or whatever religious person you're talking to, you will get straw manned, and they will automatically say that you hate God because you're acting as if he existed, right? Which whenever I'm talking, I'm usually just talking about it in a hypothetical situation as if he's a character, a fictional character.
I think too that like people will say about like, oh, this mythology and like Greek mythology and that mythology, but like nobody ever says that like Christianity is a mythology. And I feel like that by not saying that it's a mythology is like still like advocating for that it might be real, something like that. Like, and Christians will talk about other like mythologies, but then also talk about their mythology and that no, that's real. I don't think they have found any evidence on other religions on how they're not real, and yet theirs is, but they will still call another religion a mythology.
Thank you.
Big thing about that was, biggest part about that is fucking 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not put any other God before me. That right there is stating that God is not the only God.
Yeah.
Like,
or every other god is false. And the reason why you have to make that commandment is because I guarantee even primitive people could probably see through the facade, because you know what? They did see through the facade, because there are atheists that go so far back. You know, there were like Josephus, the people that the writer, the historian that Christians often cite as the dude who was like their historical reference. Which, by the way, let me tell you something about Josephus. When Josephus wrote that one verse, not that verse, but that one little snippet in his memoir, that snippet in his not his memoir, but in his book that he's writing about history, was actually plagiarized and added in later by some monks. Now, the best part, though, to me, the best part of it is that he says that the Christians are idiots, and that they're, he acknowledges they're idiots and they're dumb and they believe anything. And that's what I'm saying, is like, you had people that were criticizing that religion, and we had atheists back then as well. People that believing in a God was stupid. Back in the turn of the first century. So,
well, they probably also put that in the commandments because there were so many other religions before Christianity, but yet whenever in the Bible, it is pretty much written that there was no other religion at the time. The only religion is Christianity, which that's a hypocrisy at itself. That's saying that the world started with only Adam and Eve, and that somehow we are all incest, even though people tried that, didn't really work out so well. And we're supposed to believe that, but yet also put in there that they cannot put another God above God.
Yeah, well, you know what else too is after when you talk about the Noah's Ark story, right? Very funny thing that happens with that is, how they all get off the boat, and now these pairs of animals, right? And which this is also a really cool thing is talk about phylogeny, which is like how animals, how all the branching trees of life branch off. So all these animals get off the boat, right? There's like 2 pairs of tigers and 2 pairs of elephants, or did God create 2 pairs of primordial cats and 2 pairs of primordial elephants? Which, by the way, then you'd have to go back and figure out how mammoths and manatees are related to elephants, because they're related, and all these other damn animals, and you'd have to figure it out and go back and back and back. The infinite regress to the point where we had the first primitive animals.
Yeah, right. Even to say too on like how they even got there. Are they saying that this was during like Pangea, when like every continent was like together, even though it's not in that time zone? How is every animal crossing like lakes and oceans to get to this ark, and like they know that it's there too?
Right. Well, he told Noah to go get 2 of every animal, which there's 2 different flood stories if you read it. If you read the Bible in Genesis, there is too many doublets. There's 2 separate flood stories. For example, in one part of it, God tells Noah to get 2 of every animal. And then in another one, he says get 2 of every animal, and then 7 of every clean animal. Or 2 pairs of every 2 of every unclean animal, and then 7 of every clean animal. So you have 2 different accounts of the flood story. Oh, DeWicca podcast. Genesis doesn't support that incest theory the way you were told. Genesis don't support that incest theory the way that you were told. Okay, so right now here's the thing. Okay, DeWicca podcast, just hear me out. So let's go back to Genesis and let's talk about it. So we say that Adam and Eve, that whole story's BS, right? They didn't all procreate and then create all of their progeny, etc. But then if that story isn't true, I need you to think about this, right? Then the whole entire idea of original sin and the whole reason why Jesus died for us is meaningless and bullshit. If you don't believe Genesis happened exactly the way that book said it happened, then it's all bullshit. The whole Bible is a bunch of bullshit. It really is. Because if you don't believe that Adam and Eve were the first 2 created people, and that from them everything descended, and that they ate of the apple tree, or the fruit, the tree of good and evil, and then they garnered that information, and then they went and created everybody else. If you don't believe that, I'm sorry, but then that means the rest of the Bible is built on a false premise, which would mean that God is just a dickhead. Which that could be very well the case. I mean, it does, just because he's a dickhead doesn't mean that that's not true. I mean, there's other reasons why. But
I mean, yeah, my dad's a dick. He's still true,
Right. Exactly. you know, and he might be right about some
Yeah.
things. Just because he's a dick,
Yeah.
he's not right about stuff.
Another basis too is that in the Bible it says that like God is going away, that he has told all he could to his prophets. They have written it all down, and now he is going away, and that he will. Nothing else is supposed to be written until he comes back, even though it did. And there are actual other stories in the Catholic Bible of things that have happened after God said that he was going away. Like there is an actual story of Noah being a virgin birth that a lot of people don't even talk about, and that somehow that story was not true because it was told after God went away. Well, how is it that there's stories in the Catholic Bible that somehow cannot be true, but yet everything in another Christian's Bible is completely different, but yet that's true?
Right. Well, what you're bringing up a point is the same point that we talked about earlier about denominations of Christian religions. Yeah, I mean, all these different denominations of Christian, they all claim to be Christian. They all believe in the death and resurrection of Jesus for our sins, but what they and his second coming. But what they don't believe in is, I mean, there's religion, like they agree on that one point, and then basically after that it's like all up in the air. Some believe in a different way that Jesus came back from the grave. Some believe in, we have a lot of churches too where they don't believe, like they teach evolution, and that like, oh, the whole Old Testament, the beginning origin story was metaphorical. The Catholic Church accepts evolution. So
it's like sending women out to the woods whenever they're on their period.
By the way, evolution is not mutually exclusive of a God claim. You could still have a God, probably not the God of the Bible or any other monotheistic religion, but you could still have a God representative to if evolution was true or not. Evolution could be true, and you could still have a God. You could. So I'm saying that right now. Evolution does not disprove God. To anybody who doesn't want to believe it or believe it, it doesn't.
No, if anything, it would prove more of free will. I mean,
how does evolution not disprove God?
Hold on. Okay, well, first off, the Wake Up Podcast, as there were more people on Earth besides Adam and Eve. So you're telling me, the Wake Up Podcast, this is oh God, why can't I remember your name? Worldwide. Why can't I remember your first name? I'm so sorry. I can't remember your first name. So you're telling me that, okay, so there were more people on Earth than Adam and Eve. Okay, so Adam and Eve, he created them. Explained. And then did God, if you can, find the verse for me. I said, I will correct my error if I am wrong.
Oh, no.
But find the verse for me.
I know what he's talking about, though.
Yeah, find the verse for me where God says that he created more people outside of Adam and Eve, definitively. Tell me where that is.
It does say that there are people other than Adam and Eve that were after, but this is also after Cain and Abel.
I was saying that's after Cain and Abel goes out or is casted out from.
Right. Which what? Now we're saying there was 6 or 7 people.
How they became.
So now we're saying there's 6 or 7 or 8 people. I'm telling you that genetic diversity, even if you had 8 people, a population of animals has it, and once an animal gets once a population of animals gets below 20 individuals, it's a wrap for their species. Their genetic diversity hits a bottleneck to the point that they become mutants. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they can't procreate and continue forward. I mean, cheetahs, I think they have a genetic marker for cheetahs. Cheetahs are actually deformed. They had a genetic bottleneck where they were at one point down to like 200 individuals of their species at one point, and they came back from it. The problem is, though, they have so many genetic deformities and things like that in their species, in their genome. It's interesting. But yeah, the biodiversity dropped down. But evolution. Evolution, the reason why it doesn't disprove that there's a God is because there could be a God that created the universe and that uses evolution as his process to, because who knows, this God that we're thinking of, right? He might just be part of the infinite regress, or progress, shall I say, because no matter what, the universe is infinitely big and infinitely small, right? The harder you look at stuff, the more you can see. the harder the harder you look at things, the more you can see. So there could be a God out there that created everything, and like this is just the byproduct of something else he created. You know, this could be the dish detergent in his washing machine, and we're just a bubble in it. You know, I don't know. I'm just saying that, but
it could be the Tide Pod in a millennial.
Yeah, a Tide Pod and a millennial's mouth bursting open. You know,
even though everybody in this chat right now is considered a millennial.
Bitch, I'm Gen Z. Fuck you.
No. Fap, you're like generation. Is it generation
they
Z?
did.
All right. So
they separated out millennials to multiple. I think I'm in a part where they broke it off from millennials.
Melvin, that's your name.
Either way, it's fucking retarded.
Melvin.
Yeah. I have a topic I'd like to speak about. For this one, I'd like to take the mic for a couple of minutes and run on it. And so
go ahead.
Here's my idea. So while I could be considered an atheist, I'd like to take a moment and talk about a separate belief system. So growing up, obviously, before I even believed in nothing, a lot of people would refer to me as atheist, or more commonly as Satanist. Now, I'd like to point out that there's actually two different dialects of Satanism. There is LaVeyan Satanism, and there is cultist Satanism. Cultist is obviously the one that actually believes in something. LaVeyan Satanism is a belief system, and not even necessarily a belief system, but more of like a symbolism of him as freedom. I would say that I am closer to a LaVeyan Satanist than I would be to an actual atheist.
Well, you know,
and the reason that I say that is looking back at the Bible and of the verses, and especially everything containing information on Lucifer, I can say without a doubt that the man was right.
Oh yeah.
Like, yes, he tempted Adam and Eve. Okay, let's challenge the knowledge of Christians. Why was he on Earth? Why was he in the garden in the first place? I'll tell you why. Because he got into a fight with Michael, his archangel brother, got struck down to Earth in the first place, wanted to prove God wrong, and show that his creation wasn't perfect. God asked him to bow to him as penance, and such he was thrown into hell. Now, let me ask you this. So, Lucifer's all evil, right? He attacks the heavens. Why is it evil for somebody that was burning in hell for millennia to want to lash out after that, strictly because they were proving a point and they were right? So it's a little off basis of what we were talking about before, but that's a point that I really wanted to push forward, because there is a lot of actual moral standpoints in the Bible that were unintentionally conveyed, and that is one of them.
Right. Well, hold on. We will get right back to what Bobby just said.
Then.
What's that?
We'll get right back to what Bobby just said.
No. Whoa. One second, Devin. No, I am a LaVeyan Satanist. So I believe in absolutely nothing. However, the dialect of LaVeyan Satanism is the idea of looking up to Lucifer as a symbol of free will.
So he's your Batman. He's a symbol of hope.
You know? Well, hold on. Real quick. So Melvin Worldwide's up in the chat. He said after Cain's punishment and exile as a result of his murder of Abel, he feared that he would be killed by those outside of Eden. Once they found out what he did, then he left with his wife to a occupied land and built a city. The Bible is documented only for the descendants of Adam, so that's why Adam's story is highlighted and not other genealogies. Okay. So now we have God created Eve out of Adam's rib, right? Now, why couldn't he have created out of? Why did it have to be the people that were in Eden? If there's people that existed outside of Eden, why did those people already exist outside of Eden?
Hold on, wait. Where are you at? Where are you at? Cite your sources. Who are you looking at?
What am I looking at? No. This is Melvin. He's sending us messages in the chat.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So what were you saying, Al? Go ahead.
Oh, I thought he meant that he wanted him to cite his sources, not your source.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no. He's making the claim, and like I said, I will correct myself if there's something wrong. Which even if I am wrong, that's fine. But you gotta ask yourself the bigger questions. Why were there people that existed outside of Eden? So why did God create two primordial pairs of people that we get to hear about, right? And then there's all these other people that exist outside of the Garden of Eden, right? So what was outside the Garden of Eden? So there was already bad shit outside the Garden of Eden, and there were people that already existed outside of it.
Out there,
Human 1.0 was outside of Eden.
Or did they already all exist in Eden, and then Adam and Eve were already there? Like there were people, all these people were in Eden, but we only talked about Adam and Eve, and then because of Adam and Eve's action, everybody else had to deal with that.
Existed. Why did he need to use the rib in order to make Eve? That makes no sense.
Right, because where were all the other people that were there?
Here's the thing.
I know the idea is autistic.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but
yeah, but I'm saying
it's pretty autistic.
But I'm saying, like, if you can present that to me, Melvin, like I said, again, I will correct myself because I'm an honest person, but I don't think that that's right. Now, back to what Bobby said about Satanism. I think after I listened to a couple Satanists talk before, I think that most atheists would agree with Satanist principles, just like how, like, if you cherry pick verses that Jesus said, or Allah said, or whoever said, or the Prophet Muhammad, or fucking Buddha, you can pick that shit out and say, oh, some of this is actually good, and I would relate to that. Satanism's that same way because they believe in, like, magic, which magic is kind of like, it's not like the magic you think is like poof, puff, wow. The magic they believe it's kind of like this idea of, like, of selfishness almost, in a way. Like they believe in nothing, but they believe in their own worldview. Like it kind of mixes a little bit of nihilism, because all that really matters is not even them, but what they want, what they particularly want. That's why Bobby was saying some people do worship Satan, like actually worship Satan, not worship him, but the Satan, or the symbol of him. And there's also Satanists who just agree, like, well, they like that label. They just enjoy the label because they're people that are free thinkers and all this stuff. And their religion really isn't a religion. It's actually a secular religion. It's kind of like atheism, except they just kind of have, like, rituals and all kinds of other things.
Okay, so what I'm referring to is Levian Satanism, and it does not have any sort of ritualism to it at all. It's literally just the symbol for free will. There's actually an entire book on it. I can't remember his first. Let me take a look real quick. I'll probably
go ahead and look it up. That is another free principle. Yeah, the free will thing, because Satan gave free will, and that's why they gave us free will, and that's kind of like what it's based off of. Also, some books
that was super easy.
Who's the guy who wrote the books? Who's the guy who wrote the Satanist books?
Antoine LaVey.
Antoine LaVey. Okay, so he wrote those books, and
who's the guy who wrote them Satan books?
Who's that there guy who wrote them there Satan books about Satan?
But yeah, so ironically enough, the book is actually called the Satanic Bible.
Oof, that's heavy. Now we're going to get, because Bobby brought this up and we're being intellectually honest about it, now we're going to get called Satanist.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I don't give a flying fuck, dude.
I was going to say, the problem is, though, is other people, the misconception is that people believe Satanists believe in Satan.
The problem is, though, is that if I ever want to run for, like, any sort of office or presidency or anything like that, just stating that I'm not Christian, boom, all chances of that are gone.
Not necessarily.
Has nothing to do with my thoughts and opinions on
Genesis.
People are saying about like how Donald Trump is like bringing Christianity back into schools and shit, even though half the people who are talking about that, how they're a Christian and stuff, don't even like go on the basis of fucking Christianity. None of them actually, love thy mother and father. Half of them don't even give a shit about that. A lot of people like love thy neighbor. They rather shoot their neighbor than even look at them, and they are just preaching about.
Terry. Bible
hell happened
in school and shit. And that who cares about that? There's so much other shit that's going on right now that people are just not giving a shit about whatsoever. But yet once someone says like, "Oh, I'm a Christian," everything goes out the door like, "Oh, he's perfect." Like, no, he's not. He's not perfect whatsoever. And the people in fucking Flint, Michigan still don't have any water, but he rather give more of a shit about how like the Democratic Party is like ruining shit, even though pretty much both parties are ruining shit at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because neither party's right.
We actually cared about ourselves and about our country. We'd start trying to fix shit in our country than building a fucking border wall that we don't need.
All right, you finish your thought, but I'm bringing it back to religion after this. Listen, I talk about Trump and his fucking wall and him in general too much on this show. I want to just have this constructive conversation, be able to talk about his ass. I get what you're saying.
I went down a fucking rabbit hole.
Yes, you did.
My basis on that was mostly that a lot of people in Christianity will just support somebody just because they say that they're Christian over somebody else that is not a Christian, because Christianity takes up majority of the United States. Mm-hmm. So I was saying about how Fat was pretty much right about that if he ever tried to run for an office and he said that he wasn't religious, automatically his votes would plummet.
But it's not just his votes. In the state of Texas, you couldn't even run without electing that you had a denominational belief. You could believe in anything, but you had to be a belief in a God. Now,
I believe in Satan.
Fat, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was going back to the Cain and Abel and
he gave us a verse. He gave us Genesis 4:14 through 17. But if I'm not mistaken, all of the events of the beginning of the Bible took place, right? Genesis 4 is way before Adam, or is way after Adam and Eve, if I'm not mistaken.
No. That would be around the right part of Genesis for that. Genesis 2:7, 18 through 19 would be the parts where it actually clarifies and clearly states that Adam and Eve were the first man created. But depending on which scripture you read from, which version, it goes into further detail as Adam being the first man God made in his own image. So that leaves you into interpretation saying that there are
give me a fucking break. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
This is leaving things to interpretation.
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is apologetics 101. Well, he wasn't specific, so let's just assume whatever we want to make the story fit. Do you know what I mean? Like, that stuff drives me crazy. Well, it wasn't specific. Well, I'm sorry, in the new bullshit Bible that you made up because you wanted to interpret it that way, you want to say, because this is why apologetics exists. Because then they gotta say, oh shit, it doesn't make sense. So we need to stretch the words and the verses and the text so it fits the narrative that we want it to say. You know, and whatever, fine, I will grant it. I will grant that God. So here's what's funny. God created Adam. He was the first guy he created in his image. So what were all the other dudes he created? Like fucking ugly motherfuckers? Actually, you know what? No. You're right, because this is actually true. Because what some Christians believe is that there were a hybrid people back then, and only the people that came from the lineage of Adam and Eve, the people that came from his lineage, those were the only real people, the chosen people. All the other ones were like these hybrid people, and that's how some people actually justify that God's flooding of the earth was warranted, because the people that he killed, they weren't real people, they were hybrid, people that weren't made in God's image. That's what they were.
A bunch of fucking weeaboos. They had to go.
The people from Adam, though, would have been a part of the people that died in the flood, so it can't be justified still.
Right. Where did
the people come from, too?
Hold on. Let Fat talk quick, because he has information.
Unless they crossbred, in which case then it would be warranted for them to die in a flood as well because they're no longer pure.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, go ahead. Alex,
You would think though that like being from Adam though would make them pure, because even believing in God makes you automatically pure, too. But
not in the Old Testament though.
Oh,
the Old
whoa.
Testament
Whoa,
wasn't.
that's the Old Testament.
Yeah, I say that's the old God. That's
I'm
different.
fucking with you.
That isn't
No,
real. What do you mean? That was retconned. It's like Terminator 5, dude.
Hold on. Hey,
Yeah, we gotta go back. and fix this.
Melvin said correct that Adam and Eve were the first man and woman, but not the only man and woman. So he made them first, and that's what I'm saying. So then God, like he made Adam and Eve, right? And like while they're chilling, God's making more people that you don't even know about. Which I'm saying, do those people? Do we have reason to believe that those people he made existed in Eden, and then before the fall, and then also, you know, like your justification for then him later killing all these people and what have you later on in the Bible. Also, Amber says, "Hail Satan, our Dark Lord Master."
Yes, Amber appreciated.
Amber says, "Hail
That's
Satan."
my lady.
I vote to start a new religion called Amberism.
Amberism. Oh God.
She's been reading on paganism lately, and she.
Oh,
really-
all hail and worship the queen.
Does she know the way?
You want to know about some good paganism? Fucking Norse mythology.
Norse gods. Oh, don't listen. I know
Dude,
people. I would
Thor's
like to
a
get them on the
fucking
show. I know people
head.
that believe in Norse gods. I know people that believe that Thor and Odin and all of them are the people that run this bitch still.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty large claim.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like, well, you know, I said at least the Norse gods like wield hammers and like do cool shit. Like they like kill giant monsters and what have you, and there's like a giant snake that wraps around the world and whatever. Like, if you're gonna believe something that's absolutely crazy, you gotta go for the gold. You know what I mean? But
you gotta just take that shit and run with it.
Yeah.
Instead, we have a god that's just like, let me just plop my magical dick on your shoulder and.
Oh, and hold on, and I want to make this clear again because I want to make sure I make this as clear as possible for every time someone's in the stream. We really are beating down Christianity, but it's because it's the religion most familiar to us. But I'm telling you, if you brought up claims from the Quran or from Zoroastrianism or from Buddhism or whatever, if you brought it to my attention, I'm sure we would address it the same exact way. I promise.
Oh no, 110%.
Yeah.
Here's how I.
Unless you had evidence for it, then maybe we would consider that. But
no,
if you have
if there's actual evidence, that's a different story. But here's how I feel honestly. Like I said earlier, if you need to believe in it, if that's what makes you happy, if that's what works for you, then fine, by all means. But like, regardless, if you believe in something that it doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter if it's Christianity, it doesn't matter what religion or belief system, it doesn't have to be a religion. If you believe in something with no evidence, you are a retard.
Alec, my buddy Melvin Worldwide says, whatever that was my long-haired friend, was drinking from, I want one. That big fucking cup you have. Show everybody the cup. Show everybody this big-ass fucking cup.
I have the website pulled up, too. I've been looking at it.
100% real cattle horn, okay? And it holds 4 fucking pints. This is like the best fucking thing I ever bought.
How much did it cost, though?
$80.
Are you kidding?
I got a Raiders cup, Melvin. You like
that? The handle is from the same horn. It's actually like carved and shit all the way around. And then the bottom of it is just the rest of the cattle horn.
Dude, there is no way in hell I'd be willing to spend that much money on a cup. I don't care how cool the cup it is. It's not happening.
Right. And
Bro.
But he can carry around 4 pints of beer at once.
No, I believe that it's worth it for you, but for me, no. Like, and this is coming from a guy that'll easily spend $80 on a Magic card. So, like, beat me down all you want.
Spend $80 on a card. So what's $90 on a fucking cup? You're really one to talk. Really?
You know what? Fuck you. Play me in Magic. I will Snapcaster Mage your ass.
You won't catch me dead playing Magic. You won't catch me dead.
Yeah, because you'll be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Where all you do is spam shit and win turn 1.
Well, yeah.
Man,
back to
yeah, back. Thank you,
atheism.
Alec. Thank you. Don't detract it. I'm sorry, Melvin. You started talking about the cup, and you just took us down a rabbit hole. But hey, if you come on the show, when you come on the show on Monday, we have you set up to come on, Melvin. Yeah, we'll have a little conversation before or after, or have you on to talk again, like on a show where we're talking about religion again, because like I said, it's interesting to have these conversations. We were going to do something with actual people that were religious, but I felt like tonight, grab some guys that were just atheists, sit down, let's just talk about why we believe what we believe, and then joke around, kick the shit, and see who comes up and talk with them.
Well, I mean, there have been some people that I've talked to that I can have a normal conversation with. Some people in my own family I can have a normal conversation with because they know I'm not going to try to beat their religion down. I would just talk about it to them, and if they want to know why, I am not at all a dickhead about it. But there are other people out there that you can have conversations with that. But there are majority more people that if you even try to have that conversation with them, they automatically become angry.
Hostile, yeah.
And then they wonder why other atheists too, that if you try to talk about it to them, they automatically become angry and defensive, because there's so many people out there that you can't even talk about it to without them literally trying to rip your face off and wear it. Okay?
Wear it. Oh, by the way, okay, so Melvin brought this to my attention. He says, okay, besides the people that existed outside of Eden, documented by Genesis 4:14 through 17, I'm going to blow your mind with the serpent's seed. Are you ready? No, I don't like the Raiders Cup, but you guys are cool. Wow.
Bro. No. Not a Raiders Cup. Okay?
No, he was talking about, because I told, while you were showing off your cup, I said, I had a Raiders Cup. And I was like, do you like it? He's
okay.
like, no.
Nobody cares about that.
Yeah, right. That's what he was saying. He's like, you guys are cool, but the Raiders Cup, no, that's garbage. But yeah, oh God, I just lost my train of thought. What you said, Alec? What did you just say? Fuck, you don't even remember.
That if we tried to have this conversation with other religious people, I would, if I ever try to do it, I would try to not make it into a physical argument at all, and that's hard. If we could actually find somebody that we could talk about it to, and not either both sides getting mad or even one side getting mad, I feel like that would be okay. So us doing this right now is a lot better because we're not physically arguing about it. We're just saying about our standpoints.
Well, I usually screen the people that I want to talk to in the religious thing, because you're not getting anywhere. I mean, sure, the yelling at each other and arguing is funny and it's good for views, but you don't get anywhere from it. You don't get from one place to a better place of understanding, which is what this show is really about, is trying to understand each other's position. And sure, you can change your mind. I'm just going to tell you why I believe what I believe, or why I think what I think, or what the facts are. And if you don't accept them, or if you don't believe the way I do, or whatever, fine, get up from the table and walk away. But at least understand what the other person's saying and understand where they're coming from, is the point.
You're pretty much saying that you don't care if somebody believes in a religion. You just don't. You're not going to try to push yours, even though it's not a religion, on to somebody. You don't want them to push it onto you at the same time.
Well, no, here's the thing. See, I am an anti-theist. I think the world would be a better place without religion now.
Oh yeah.
And
that's no question.
because what we would start doing, instead of believing things, we would start asking rational questions whenever it come to topics it would be secular reasoning. We'd say, okay, abortion, or we'd say, okay, what's the hell is that rape thing that I can't think off the top of my head. Religion in schools. We'd start looking at things with secular objectivity, and we would quickly find that a lot of the dogmas we have aren't biased, and we could start working towards things that matter to make the betterment of humanity better. We'd start thinking about global warming. What do you mean?
You said something about rape.
Yeah, there's I'm saying we wouldn't have these people that go well, she was asking for it. Maybe she shouldn't dress provocatively because the Quran says blah 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? Oh. We wouldn't have those people. We would have people that are looking at things more objectively.
We would still have those people. They just wouldn't have their justifications.
Yeah, that's true. They wouldn't have their justifications. They would just be bad, shitty people. You know, they just
Yeah.
they couldn't hide
I
behind
mean,
the
I don't
book.
care whether you have justifications or not. You're pretty bad and shitty.
Right, that's what I mean. But I'm saying you can't try and hide behind them, you know?
I mean, like, I don't care what religion you are. Like, 90% you're probably shit anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not even talking about like people that like justify rape. I mean, like if you're are you a living person? Yes. Okay, well then you're probably shit.
In general, yeah. People,
I don't. Like I said, I don't think religious people are shit, you know, because they truly do believe what they believe, and you know, and like I said, if you're gonna believe it, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, I'm not the thought police. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna believe, if you want to believe that there's a magical crop duster in the sky that drops you when it rains, it's raining rejuvenant juices all over you. Alex, like what the fuck?
Dude, that sounds pretty hot. I can like rub my nipples to that.
But that's the point. If you want to believe it, anything. If you want to believe that dinosaurs are still alive today, well, actually they are. They're birds. Fuck.
Birds,
Crocodile.
crocodile,
Yeah.
or shoe crabs.
No. Crocodiles are not dinosaurs.
How?
Huh?
So-
They're not.
Huh.
They branched off at Archosauria because crocodiles went off to be the bird hipped. It's complicated. We don't need to get into it right now. That's not religious based. But
There were
You're
there
offending
were
my
listen, Alec. When we get time sometime, me and you will look down the phylogenetic tree, and I will show you that at some point alligators and crocodiles branch off from dinosaurs, so they're no longer dinosaurs. They never were dinosaurs. Never in their evolution were crocodiles or alligators dinosaurs.
We
what
will
about
talk about another
trilobites?
time.
What's
Okay.
crabs?
Yeah.
What
No,
about
but
trilobites?
just
Crab?
We'll jump down that rabbit hole, but
Yeah, but here's something that I want to circle back to was the talk that which was the whole real reason why this whole thing started was because I posted something talking about how Trump wanted to start teaching religion in schools, and to me, this is what's funny. As an atheist, I think they should teach religion in schools, but they should only teach the facts about those religions. They
there
shouldn't
are
teach.
none.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying that they should teach the facts. They should teach what do these people generally believe. What is the evidence for their belief in a God, right? Like, why do they believe it? And if you looked at like the Bible, you know, the first gospel probably wasn't written until 30 years after Jesus' death. The first historical evidence wasn't till the end of the century, the end of the first century, literally. Like there wasn't the first evidence didn't even come to the historical justification, which wasn't even that Jesus existed or anything. It was from Josephus, who was again they plagiarized and put something in that book. And then, you know, he would talk about the Christian people because the Christian tribe had grown since then. You know, so if you looked at all the objective evidence of all these religions, then you could see that they were, you know, they were basically made up by Middle Easterners who didn't know anything about anything, or they had a very weak understanding of everything. But also, you would teach them tolerance towards other people's beliefs because, you know, we have people that are against Muslims, you know, which I'm against Muslims too, don't get me wrong, because some of their beliefs are really fucked up and extreme, you know? And most religious people aren't extreme like them, but when you have extremists, when you have religious extremists, though, that you know that's enough reason for me not to want to have religion, regardless. When you have people that think it's okay to kill people for any reason because of their God, I don't like it. So you believe in both evolution and the Bible a little bit, but you understand the Bible and scientific evolution, Devin. Okay, this is from Mike Ginner. Yeah, okay, so first off, I believe in evolution, and I do not believe the Bible at all. No, there's no truth to it whatsoever. I mean, it's a book of there's no facts in it. It's
The Bible's
just
real.
no.
I mean, it's a tangible thing. It's real. You can
Yeah,
hold
I believe in the Bible as a tangible book that you could look at, but what the content of it?
Fiction.
Yeah, the content in it, it's all fiction. It's all BS. Like I don't believe in all the stuff that says in there. But yeah, to get back to the conversation about religion, I think they should teach all the facts about it because I guarantee you, if you taught kids the facts about it, right, and especially if you teach, you know, like 6th graders or 7th graders, your middle schoolers, they can make informed decisions on whether it's believable or not. And that's fine. And if you learn the facts about it, right? Because then you can't just get pulled into it by some guy who believes because his mom believed or his dad believed and so on and so forth.
So
You have to look at the tangible evidence, and if they still want to believe, at least the evidence was presented to them for them to make an informed decision on believing in their dogma.
one of my so back in high school, one of my biology teachers decided that he was going to skip over the theory of evolution. It was biology. Yeah, I don't know. I was only in his class for a couple weeks. I got kicked out. But go figure.
Was it because of the story you're about to tell?
Directly because of this story. So he didn't want to teach the theory of evolution. It's a science class. It's a scientific theory. It's in my curriculum. It's in the book. Give me the knowledge that you're getting paid to give me. And instead of doing this, he glossed over it. He took a 2-3 week study and turned it into a 2-day study and 3 weeks of creationism.
Oh God!
A lot of God. There was a lot of God.
He said, "My God," he goes, "There's a lot of God." Good.
I live in the Bible Belt. I live deep in the middle of Tennessee.
In the Bible Belt.
I live in the buckle of the Bible Belt.
The buckle. He lives in the buckle.
So nobody cares. Nobody bats an eye that religion's being taught, the Christianity's being taught in schools here.
Well, no, they probably want it.
They do, and I was very much against it. I mean, if you wanted to teach it, cool, but don't skip out on your curriculum on teaching me the knowledge that everybody else in the United States is getting because it's a standardized fucking curriculum.
Right. And evolution is a demonstrable fact.
Right.
And it needs to be taught no matter what you believe or don't believe. Which, again, I said that evolution might disprove that, like, the Old Testament, but technically speaking, if Jesus still rose from the dead, which he didn't, but if he still rose from the dead, you could still have Christianity. But go ahead, yeah, evolution doesn't disprove that.
And teaching creationism in school, because it wouldn't just be the Bible, it would be the whole mankind came from God made all the animals, 7 seas and shit. Like, it doesn't work as a school study. You can't. Theology is a college class. It's a whole curriculum in of itself. There isn't room in a public education system for them to put a religious study in. And if they did, they couldn't.
Well, if you put a religious study, you got to teach all religions.
Yeah, they couldn't with any can't think of how I want to word that. They would definitely have to teach more than one religion, so it would have to be a full theology class.
Yeah, and that's what I agree to. If they would make a full theology class that teaches the Bible and the Quran and all these other things the same way they teach Greek mythology, which, by the way, if you think about it, Greek mythology is actually Greek theology, because that is a religion that just nobody really believes it anymore. It's a pagan religion, right? So technically you learn a pagan religion in high school. You're being taught a religion, but it's not presented to you that way.
No.
Huh?
It's not pagan religion. There are still people who believe in Greek theism.
Right. Well, I'm saying, yeah, but okay. That's even, you bettered my point, because that means that, so there's this religion that people that they teach in school that some people, not a lot, believe in, but everybody goes, and this shows you how arrogant we are as as a Christian, which we're not a Christian nation, but we're a country of a lot of Christians. Most people are gonna go, well, that's not real. The Greek gods,
Oh, you want to hear something even crazier? Okay. My coworker is a refugee or a transplant from
transplant?
He's a transplant?
From Egypt. Yeah,
In
he's
Ithaca?
Transformer from Egypt.
He's a
He's Transformer.
he's a transvestite from Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had a question about Egyptian mythology and all the old gods and everything. So I went to ask him about it, and he looked at me and laughed. Right?
Hmm.
They don't teach that.
What do you mean they
Their
don't teach what?
government, their government is a Muslim government.
Oh,
So they don't get taught any history from the before the Islamic takeover of Egypt. So I went to ask him about something. I think it was Horus, actually. I think it was the story of Horus that I went to ask him about, and he laughed at me and was like, "What? What are you talking about?"
what are you talking about? That's
Yeah,
crazy. But that's why you can't have like religions take over the church like in schools, because the minute that you start teaching a religion in your schools, you have jeopardized the idea of a democracy and you've become a theocracy, because now everything that you're trying to teach and implement in your system revolves around that religion and what that religion believes.
That's why I believe that like they actually shouldn't teach religion in schools. Even though like yeah, you're saying that they should teach the truth about it, I feel like it shouldn't be taught whatsoever. It should never even be like brought up because for me it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter on how you're supposed to be as a human being. So a book shouldn't tell you how you're supposed to be as a human being at all. You should actually just be a good person just because you should be a fucking good person, not because, oh, hey, God told me I should be a good person, so maybe then I should be. No, you should be a good person because nobody likes a piece of shit.
Well,
That's my
that too, you should be a good person because you need to understand that you are a person that exists in this existence, and you can only assume that everyone around you also exists, and that because you are a person, you would want them to be treated the same way that you want to be treated. And
Yeah,
we're
not just
all brought
because
into this
look,
world. We're all brought into this world. We didn't ask to be here, but we're here. So we got to treat everybody the best that we can. We're all just struggling to get through this fucking pond full of scum that is life.
the only way I can see the Bible being brought into public school system appropriately would be a full-blown theology elective course
Yeah, it
where
had been elective. No, I mean, I honestly, I would want to make it mandatory. But the thing
no,
is,
where would you put it? And that would just piss off people,
well, no,
you know.
here's the thing though. This is why I'm countering my own argument, because the problem is once you would do that, you would start having dishonest teachers that would start shading the options. Do you know what I mean? They would
That's
say,
true.
"Here's this religion, it's bullshit," and then they would kind of start spitting half truths about their preferred religion. You know, maybe they believe in Buddhism, maybe they're Buddhist, maybe they're Christian, maybe they're Muslim, and they're like, "Well, yeah, this one's actually, and Allah actually loves you," and all this garbage or this, that, and the other thing. And also, Melvin, yes, I will read Genesis 3:15 to Matthew 13:37 through 39, and then I'll try and get a better understanding of what you're talking about in Eden. But yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you would have those teachers that would start to shade the options, and that's where you start getting a little worried.
Yes, that's a very fair point. By the way, I want to bring it back a little bit to something that was brought up earlier. We mentioned Alec. You mentioned earlier about whenever someone were to say run for the presidency, they would be selected. The Christian of the bunch would be selected primarily over the rest. Now, I feel as though that's not necessarily the case. I feel as though the reason as to why it is brought up more is simply because it's brought more attention due to them being a very vocal, unfortunately vocal, group of people. Now, with that being said, Christianity in the States and in general is actually declining, not inclining.
That is correct.
And the reason for this is because as we're moving it away from schools, as we are separating church and state, and more importantly, as we're beginning to accept reality as it is and going towards a more scientific and fact-based future as a people and as a country in general, it's becoming more of a non-factor. So I just wanted to point out that what we said earlier about the Greek gods, about pagan beliefs and such like that, they were once considered by their people to be definitive proof, even though there was none. I believe that we are going to reach a point, as far away as it may be, in which Christianity will, this isn't a theory, will inevitably become a mythology that will be passed on through schools the same way that Greek mythology is passed through our school systems now. Definitively.
No, they all die eventually.
Yeah, they all die eventually, but the thing is, the point I was trying to make was the reason why we have the decline is because we live in an age of information. I will always say this: we live in an age of information where information is easily accessible to anybody. Because if I didn't have access to the information that I had, I probably still would have been a Christian to this day. Because there is so many things after I started reading the Bible and I didn't agree with the things that were in it, and I started doing the research and I started listening and reading books by Richard Carrier and by David Fitzgerald and and Christopher Hitchens. Once you start reading all these books, you really start to understand the biases of religion and why it's just a bunch of BS. And that's why we have so much access to information now. And that's really the big reason why atheism is on the increase and other religions on the decrease. Now, Islam is actually growing exponentially. And, as atheists, I think we need to keep an eye on that, just to,
keep them in check.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't have to go kill them. But, I mean, I got to say the religion it can get pretty extreme. I'm not saying all Muslims are like that because, most Muslims are just like Christians where they're just kind of, they just take the good stuff and pluck it out. But I mean, there's people that are believing like, Sharia law and
have you looked into that? Have you looked into Sharia law? Have you seen how crazy? Yes. Have you seen how fucking crazy it is?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, how they treat women and gays and people. It's just they treat people like animals. Like if you're one of those people, you're literally an animal.
Exactly what it is. It's people hurting. That's exactly what it is.
Well, we still need to push more on like separating church and state because like you can't even, like I said earlier too, about like how I believe that if you are not a Christian, you probably wouldn't be picked for the presidency. Technically, you can't even go for the presidency if you do not even have a religion. Because whenever you're swore in, you're supposed to swear in on your religion, on the book of your religion. A lot of people said about how a Muslim can't be in, I believe it was like the Supreme, or not the Supreme Court, but the House of Representatives, because you have to swear in on the Bible. And someone said, no, they were able to swear in on the Quran. So at the same time, if you don't have a religion, you can't even try to even lead our country.
That's actually not 100% factual because there actually is members of I don't remember if it was the House or Senate actually, but recently there was somebody who did sign in and swore in on the laws, the Book of Law.
You mean the Constitution?
I don't know. I didn't read the entire article.
That's something to
but
look
it was
into.
not a book based on
the article.
But I mean, if we're talking about politics and atheism, I mean, it is harder because, there are a lot of religious people, and even if you don't have a belief in a God, they're going to be a little worried. Like, well, why don't you believe in a God? And they think, well, you're not going to care about me or other people, and you're going to treat us like crap. And
like, why do you believe in a God? Like, I'm sorry, like, why are you stupid?
No, see, that's the problem. That's why you wouldn't get elected, Bobby, because you would say, well, why are you a fucking idiot? And they're going to go, yeah, well, you're not getting my vote, you piece of shit.
Yeah,
well,
then you
I'm all for, like I said before, I am all for you having a belief if it makes you happy, but that doesn't change the fact that you're stupid.
No.
Well, ignorance is
but that's
bliss.
the thing. When you start telling religious people that
if
they're
you
stupid,
believe in something,
it doesn't mean the person's stupid. It means they're misguided. It means they're misinformed. It means that it's not that they're stupid. They're ignorant because they could have the information right in their face, but they just either choose to ignore it. It takes intelligence for ignorance because you have to know what to ignore, what you're ignoring.
No, because most of that is done subconsciously or it's just them brushing something off. It takes absolutely no intellect in order to ignore something. Like I said, if you want to believe in something, that's on you, and you're absolutely free to do so. And if that makes you happy, if that makes you like, yay, whenever my parents are dead, I'll get to see them someday, but you won't.
Right. Well,
And
but the argument they're going to use is Pascal's wager, which they're just going to say, well, I mean, like, what's to lose?
I mean, what's to gain by spending your entire life on your knees when you can be spending it on your knees in a better way? Just saying.
Hell yeah.
Draw back, Bobby. Draw back.
It went to bed though, so that
Yeah,
sounds
man, like,
awesome.
why you gotta have a Bible in your hands when you can have a dick in your mouth? You know what I'm saying?
Alrighty.
No,
Anyway,
I don't know what you're saying. For some people, that might be okay.
as I was saying, that like a lot of people, I think believe in God just because they are afraid of death. I believe too that like a lot of atheists aren't afraid of death because they find more soothing that there is not an afterlife. I just don't understand the basis of that a lot of people believe in God just because of the afterlife. That's like the biggest basis of that. On any type of spectrum, on any type of religion, the biggest thing that people view is their afterlife and how they're going to live that.
And see their
I
family.
think that's probably the biggest basis of religion is people being scared, and that I feel
That's
like
actually a requirement of a religion that some
atheism.
part of the mind, body, or soul survives after death. That's actually a requirement to be a religion, like by definition.
that I feel
Well,
like
I mean,
if we
not
could
necessarily,
get
because
away
it is
from
something that
being
all.
afraid,
A theistic religion.
I
Yes.
feel like if we could try to like tell people on like how not to be afraid of an afterlife, that it'll once you die, you're dead. It's fine that you don't need an afterlife and just live your own life to the fullest. I think more people would actually be okay with it. That's on my viewpoint. I'm probably wrong on that, but that's like my biggest hope on actually trying to have more people come to atheism, even though I'm not trying to push atheism onto people.
Oh no.
The biggest basis of it is people being scared of their afterlife. We need to teach more of our children that there is no afterlife and see how that goes, or at least allowing them to pick their own religion instead of forcing one onto them, and see how life can go from there, so we can weed out the bad seeds. I want to say.
Well, my take on it is that, I'm terrified of death. I'm as scared of it as just as most people are. Because they don't. It's the fear of the unknown. What happens when you die? Which there's a quote from Mark Twain. That I liked. That it's humbling, but it's still at the same time very scary. That you hear where Mark Twain in the book he says, he's like, I was dead for 1,000,000 years before. I was dead for 1,000,000 years before I was born. He said, and I didn't mind it not one bit.
All right, my phone died, so no more video for me, guys.
Okay, cool. That's fine. So do you have so you can voice with us? Is that?
Yeah. I just swapped over to being on the computer and was able to.
Okay, well that's fine. We got about 8 minutes left here. I want to keep it under 2 hours, so we got like 8 minutes, and then we're probably going to call it a show. I mean, this has been a terrific show. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming on and talking, shooting shit, being honest. But yeah, I mean, I'm terrified of it. But the one thing I always try to recognize is just because I want something to be a certain way doesn't mean that it's true. I mean, that's why religion's so seductive, because it offers something that's total, that we want to be true so bad, and proclaims it to be true to the point where we're like, oh, it has to be true, but it isn't. It's that fool's gold. It's the lottery. It's the Pennsylvania lottery is what it is. Oh, we can win that big scratch off. Oh, yeah, you ain't never, your chances are so slim. And, because that happens to me a lot. There's days where I just want things to go my way, but often they don't. So, you have to say to yourself, just because I want something to be true doesn't mean that it's true. Just because I want something to go my way doesn't mean that it's going to. And
110% agree with that statement.
Yeah, let's say
Life
completely.
is a harsh place, religion or otherwise. Nothing is ever going to be perfect and nothing is ever going to be what you want it to be. And as for what I said earlier, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree that it's ignorance, because you do... It is ignorance. It is ignorance that people don't...
Yeah, I mean, it does. Idiocy is a curable thing, because you can inform someone and you can teach someone. If someone's not smart, they can be educated.
Know.
But people, if you're willfully ignorant, right? Because I'm telling you, I've watched enough creationist fucking people debate. I've watched Ken Hovind. I've watched Cy Ten Bergenkate. These people are deliberately dishonest. I mean, you can see it. Although I think Cy Ten buys his own shit. I mean, I think he really buys it. But Ken Hovind, like they know what to avoid and what to ignore and how to jump around the thing and gish gallop in any debate or conversation about a particular thing, because they are willfully ignorant. They know it takes intelligence to know what to ignore, because you know that information contradicts and destroys your position.
Okay, that's a fair point, but you also have a bunch of people that are just like, oh, well, you're wrong. You're wrong. That's their only argument, is that you're wrong because you don't agree with them.
But
I'm
those
saying
people...
there are people out there that are intelligent, that believe in their religion. Most of those people believe in the religion still because they find some sort of comfort in it. I don't understand that, but if that works for them, great.
Yeah, but it doesn't make them idiots. It does not make them idiots.
Here in Williamsburg. No, I'm not saying it does. But here in Williamsburg.
Oh, that's what I was disagreeing upon. But because you said that makes them stupid, and I said no, because they believe in religion does not make them stupid. It means that they're either willfully ignorant, or it means that they haven't been they are uneducated. They haven't been presented with the information. But go ahead.
That is true. However, people who are unwilling to listen, people who simply believe that there is absolutely nothing other than what they believe. No matter who this person is or what their belief system is, Christianity or not, they are an imbecile.
Doesn't make them stupid. It means they're ignorant. Because they won't take any information you give them, because they are willfully not listening to it, because they've already made up their mind. That's what we call ignorance. Doesn't mean you're stupid. Doesn't mean you're an idiot. Because there's things that they could very well be smart about or be knowledgeable about. But that particular thing, when it comes to the God claim, they are ignorant, because they don't want to know what else exists outside of that. And if they hear it, then that's willful ignorance, because if they still hear the evidence to why the thing doesn't exist, and they still agree with their conclusion, it means they're ignorant. Doesn't mean they're stupid. Does not mean they're imbeciles.
Okay, how many people in how many situations have you sat and talked to somebody who was ignorant on a subject and they weren't an idiot?
Someone who was... Okay, so, hold on.
I think...
No. This is a good conversation, because this is what I mean. Like, if we really want to have conversations with Christians, we really have to be having these conversations amongst ourselves. So, Bobby, you said that have I ever talked to somebody and they have been totally... Restate your question. Rephrase your question. I'm sorry.
Have you ever spoken to somebody in which they were entirely ignorant on something and we're arguing with you, not just a civil conversation, but we're arguing with you, refusing to listen, and we're entirely ignorant on the situation, and they were not in any way an idiot, a dumbass, an imbecile, or a retard?
Right,
Go.
They were misinformed, so they didn't have the information, and then I present the information to them, correct? Because that's how you should, usually when you're talking with a religious person and you're trying to not really convince them, but show them why your belief is more justified and based on evidence and reality rather than faith. Whenever you talk with that person, you can't look at them and say, oh, you're an idiot, you're an imbecile, because after I present you with the evidence and you still don't listen to my evidence, or you still don't believe it, at that point it's ignorance, because I've presented you evidence. Like because usually if I'm talking to you, I've sat you down, I've said, okay, look, this is why we believe things to be true. I'm like, because I whenever I do it, I break it down. We start with epistemology. We start from the very basis. I will talk to you about how we know things to be true and why we believe what we believe, right? How you believe things, how you learn to believe things, right? Because that's the key. You got to get people to understand that process first. and then you go into the facts and say, so that's why it's an unjustifiable belief. And if they still at that point do not accept the claim, then by definition they are ignorant because they have heard the information and they choose not to accept it.
I think where you guys are coming to is you're both arguing the same side of the argument.
Okay.
What it sounds like to me though is more of a how you perceive the other person, not as the other person actually is.
Right.
I feel like
I
Bobby, like you've talked to too many people in Williamsburg, because I know where
That's a
this
funny
is a real
joke.
thing, okay? Because I feel like I know where he's coming from on this. That like I have physically talked to people before in Williamsburg and laid out like why I have like my unbeliefs, and they that's where like a story came from earlier, that I put it out there like why I don't believe in something, and the person will just say, so you just hate God? And I'll say, no, this is why I don't believe in it, and ramble on about it, and then they will come back and say, so you just hate. I feel like Bobby's just talked to too many people in Williamsburg, because there's too many people in Williamsburg who, I'm not saying everybody here, but a lot of people here who they are not they're fucking stupid. Okay, that's like the only way I can put it. Is that
here's
Bobby?
But
that's how you
it's
perceive
because
them.
there's systems around them. The people that were supposed to nurture them, grow them, the school systems, everything around here they are uneducated. They don't even understand the basis of how they are to believe things. That's what I mean. And these and you have people that won't accept those beliefs. We're running out of time, but I want to state this. This is my final point to make about it, is that you have people that are uneducated because they don't even understand the basic principles of how we learn what is true and what is not true. And whenever they willfully ignore your evidence and come back at you and say, so you just hate God, even though you just explained to them that you don't hate God, that you don't even believe that he exists, and this is why, and you showed them that evidence, at that point they are ignorant. It takes intelligence.
Yes.
Here's where I'm coming from. Here, allow me this point, and allow me to finish this point, and then we'll go from there. Devin, what is the definition of ignorance?
Definition of ignorance. Are you looking at what are you talking about? Are you talking about a layman's dictionary, or are you talking about my own definition?
The literal definition of ignorance.
Well, let me have to look that up for you real quick.
Bliss.
Bliss.
Let me save you the time.
Bliss.
Ignorance is a lack of knowledge.
Yes.
If you sit there, allow me. If you sit there and explain an entire situation to somebody, if you explain the entire idea and your entire points, if you truly present them with said knowledge, then they no longer lack that knowledge. So saying they are willfully ignorant is therefore impossible, and that is what I am defining as idiocy. So what you're defining as willful ignorance is entirely contradictory to the meaning of that word, but
no, willfully ignorant means that you are refusing the knowledge. You're acting as if that knowledge does not exist. That's what willful. When I say willful ignorance, it means that you're like, oh my God, you've told them this thing. They lack that knowledge, and then when the face of that knowledge, they are choosing to act like they don't know any better. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about ignorance. They are choosing to act like they know better.
Only a retard would do that.
So off of a little bit
No,
off
an idiot is someone who literally cannot understand it.
A little bit off of that, all right? So
right,
whenever something like that happens, whenever it goes to a point of people just being an ignorant idiot about things, right? And instead of me trying to fight them with that, I usually just flip it around and ask them why they believe what they believe, when they started believing that. Is it something that they've ever even actually thought about? A lot of Christians, and I'm sure other religions, a lot of the people have never even thought about why they believe what they believe. A lot of it is they've been taught it from birth. A lot of
Yeah.
it has they don't have any. They've never had to question it. So instead of fighting with them about why I don't believe and why they shouldn't,
Yeah.
I try making them question themselves.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean by epistemology. You have to start at that point. You have to start by asking them, why do you believe what you believe? Because you're the one making the claim. You have to understand, you have to make them understand the burden of proof and that they have to come up with the evidence for it and everything else. And then you have to present your evidence to say, this is why, this is what contradicts what you believe, right? What we know, what's true about reality. And then at that point, they have to make that choice to be ignorant, to claim that they don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. And Bobby could call it idiocy. You could call them idiots, or you could call them retards, or whatever you like. That's fine.
I mean, I guess it would be more accurate to call them a fool.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, actually, that is true. No, that is what religious people really are, is fools. Because the definition of fool is people who accept claims based on no evidence, with no evidence whatsoever, too readily. They too readily accept claims with no evidence. That's the definition of a fool.
For me, like, probably like reiterating here, I kind of like, I believe on both standpoints that there are a lot of people out there too that if you try to talk to them about it, they will, you're kind of like hitting a brick wall on Devin's side, that they just won't retain that knowledge. But then I also agree with Bobby that there are people that they are not retaining the knowledge because they are fucking idiots. Right. But not all people who believe in a religion are idiots. They are probably, there is both of them. There are people out there who are.
Right. Well, then you know what? Here,
there's people that don't believe that are idiots.
I will concede my error because Bobby is right about something. If you have presented the information to somebody, and they can be willfully ignorant, yes, because they don't want to accept the knowledge that you gave them, even though they demonstrated to be true. But the thing is, like, if you have presented that information and they have demonstrated that they could not even comprehend it, then yes, by definition, they are idiots.
Yes, but not all of them. Okay, Bobby.
I'm saying.
I'm sorry,
my
but
only
like,
point.
if you're
My
a
only
human
point.
being,
last point. We have to wrap the show up. Last point, and I have to wrap the show up. This is that if you are. And if you call religious people idiots, you will never get through to them because you're insulting their intelligence. You're acting as if they're lesser than you, and that really just helps their faith along. You know, I mean, I've found that the topic, the way you really want to approach it, anytime you're talking to someone that's religious, you always want to treat them as if they're a person because they are a person. They're just misguided. They're just like all of us. They got swapped up in the wrong shit, or they don't understand something. They were uneducated about something, and you present it to them. And if they can't get it by that point, then they are, as Bobby would say, idiots. Don't use that word because then you're getting nowhere. All right,
just don't talk to any people about it in Williamsburg.
Yes,
yeah, but
I have.
Like, if you're that,
I talk to about it.
On religion, then like you're not even worth talking to. So fuck it.
Yeah. Right. All right. Well, gentlemen, Andrew, they had a closing thought. You have a closing thought?
Nah.
Nah.
No.
All right. Well, guys,
that wrapped it up.
Andrew, are we gonna go play Cards Against Humanity after this online?
I'd say hell yeah, but that's not real. So...
What's not real?
Oh, bravo! Closing statement.
Wow, I'm dumbfounded. So we're not playing Cards Against Humanity, but it was good.
If I can have a closing statement, mine is: religion or no religion, don't be a piece of shit. And if you are a piece of shit, don't try to blame it on said religion.
All right, Bobby, what's your closing statement? I'll give you one.
All right, so let me think here.
Don't think too hard. You might hurt yourself.
I have no idea what to say. Tell you what. If it makes you happy, go for it. But you're still wrong.
Oof. Okay. I am finally, things that are presented without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. That's from your boy, The Hitch. So, all right, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'm so glad for everybody that came in here. Melvin Worldwide, Mike Ginner, Amber, thank you guys so much for leaving chats and talking with us this evening. We had a great time. I think this is actually probably one of the most fun things I've done in a long time when it comes to like actually having a chat and a live stream. We should do this more often, definitely. But like I said, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you come in the stream late, please share it. I would totally enjoy that. But as always, hey, stay beautiful, everybody. Take care of yourselves. See ya.